1901, a storm traps Greek sponge divers near the island of Antikythera. One diver descends toward a shipwreck resting on the seafloor. He's hunting for amphoras and bronze, anything worth selling. Instead, he surfaces holding a fist-sized lump of green corroded metal. It looks worthless. They almost throw it back into the sea. For years, the lump sits forgotten in a museum drawer. Then someone finally scrapes away the centuries of corrosion. Inside, gears. Dozens of them. Interlocking with mechanical precision. The teeth are so fine, experts assume it's a modern hoax. But the shipwreck is dated to 70 BC. Roman era. Ancient. Devices this complex don't reappear in history for 14 centuries. For decades, skeptics call it a one-off curiosity. Nothing more. In 2006, researchers finally X-ray the device in full detail. Inside, at least 30 gears, meshed like a functioning clock. It tracks the sun. The moon. 5 known planets. It even predicts the exact date of the Olympic Games. 1-gear ratio reproduces a 223-month lunar eclipse cycle. That kind of precision doesn't happen by trial and error. It requires calculus. Real engineering. Centuries ahead of its time. Someone didn't just understand astronomy, they built it into bronze. 1400 years before humanity supposedly learned how. Today the device sits behind glass in a museum in Athens. Its maker never carved a name into the metal. Nobody knows who built the world's first known computer. Or how they kept it a secret for 2,000 years. 1936, railway workers dig near Baghdad and uncover an ancient tomb. Among the grave goods, a plain clay jar, barely the size of a hand. It's tossed into storage. Nobody looks twice for 2 years. In 1938, a museum curator finally opens it up. Inside the jar, a copper cylinder. Inside that, an iron rod. The two metals are sealed apart by a layer of asphalt. That's not decoration. That's insulation. Like a battery. Mainstream historians call it a container for sacred scrolls. But scrolls don't need to be insulated from copper. Batteries do. In 1940, an engineer builds an exact replica of the jar. He fills it with grape vinegar, a common ancient liquid. The replica produces half a volt of electricity. Real current. Not enough to power a light bulb. Enough for electroplating metal. And gold-plated objects from that exact era do exist. Skeptics point out, no wires, no bulbs were ever found nearby. That's a fair point. The mystery isn't fully solved. But here's what can't be dismissed as coincidence. Identical jars, same copper, same iron, same asphalt seal, have been found across Mesopotamia, spanning several centuries. One weird jar could be an accident. A pattern is a design. The original now sits in Iraq's National Museum. Or at least, it did, before the museum was looted in 2003. Nobody has confirmed exactly where it is today. 5th century India. Blacksmiths forge a solid iron pillar. 23 feet tall. 6 tons of metal. Not one weld. Welding pieces of iron that large won't be possible for 1,500 more years. The pillar is planted outdoors, in the open, in Delhi. Monsoon season hits every single year for the next 16 centuries. Humidity, rain, temperature swings, perfect conditions for rust. The pillar barely rusts at all. The textbook answer, lucky, iron composition. Pure chance. But that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting. In 2003, materials scientists in India finally cracked the mechanism. The surface holds an ultra-thin layer of iron-hydrogen phosphate. It only forms with very high phosphorus, almost zero sulfur. To get that mix, someone controlled the smelting temperature precisely. And the exact composition of the raw ore. On purpose. Modern attempts to recreate the protective layer are still inconsistent. The pillar still stands today at the Kut complex in Delhi. Rain falls on it every single year. It has less rust than a car you bought last year. And nobody can fully explain why. 1898, Egypt's Saqqara necropolis. A tomb is opened. Among the grave goods, a small wooden carving, barely 5 inches long. It's logged as a bird figurine and boxed away. For 71 years, nobody looks at it twice. In 1969, an Egyptian doctor pulls it out of storage again. And notices something the museum catalog completely missed. This bird has no legs. No tail feathers, either. Instead, a vertical fin. Exactly like a plane's rudder. The wings are flat and straight, not curved, like a real bird's. The official explanation, a stylized falcon. Common in Egyptian art. Fair enough, similar symbols do exist elsewhere. But no bird in nature has a vertical tail fin like this. That's not a biological feature. That's an engineering choice. The doctor builds a scaled-up replica and tests its aerodynamics. The shape glides. Stable, controlled, like it was designed to. Egyptologists mostly reject the aircraft theory outright. But no wind tunnel report from the museum has ever refuted it. The original still sits in the Cairo Museum today. The label just says, model of a bird. It doesn't mention the rudder. 1929, Topkapi Palace, Istanbul. A scholar sorts through old archives. He finds a torn map, drawn on gazelle skin in 1513. Signed by an Ottoman admiral, Piri Reis. It shows West Africa. East-South America. Accurately, for its time. And at the bottom edge, a coastline labeled Unknown Southern Land. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820. 3 centuries later. In the 1960s, a U.S. military cartographer compares the shapes. He matches it against sonar scans of Antarctica's coast, under the ice. A U.S. Air Force officer confirms it in writing. The shapes, he says, agree very remarkably with the seismic data. That letter is real. It still exists. It's often quoted. But cartographers push back, and they have a point too. Piri Reis himself wrote notes explaining his sources. He says he compiled over 20 older maps, including one by Columbus. And that the southern land is just South America, badly distorted. A common mapping error from that century, stretching coastlines to fit. So which is it? A lost map of ice-free Antarctica? Or a 500-year-old drafting mistake? Both sides are quoting real documents that directly contradict each other. The original map is locked away in Topkapi Palace. Every time it's shown publicly, the argument starts all over again. 5 artifacts. 5 official explanations that almost hold up. And 5 cracks that were never fully sealed. Which one do you think is hardest to explain? Comment below. Subscribe, the next 5 are even stranger.